What's going on? Welcome back to the Josh Button Podcast, episode 17. Today I was going to go into a completely different subject. I really want to discuss water, and that's coming up next, but I was triggered. I was triggered by the easily triggered today. And I hate that word. I'm not going to use that word anymore. I was just thought provoked. That's a good way to go into this because I posted the photo of a teacher in Ottawa that was fully decked out in trans pride and gay pride paraphernalia and a mask, and was pretty open about his willingness to push this onto your children. And the conversations that came up, or some of the comments that came up, were absolutely disturbing. And I am very grateful for all those sane individuals out there that, shared their 2 cents of sanity and of the desire to end this now, to nip it in the bud, because that's exactly what we have to do. We have absolutely no choice but to fervently fight this, just like they fought to have religions and good moral compassed ideas pushed out of the schools. And they fought hand over tooth to separate religion from politics and religion from schools and publicly funded schools. But now we find it's absolutely no problem whatsoever for these LGBTQ whatever teachers to completely shove their ideology onto our children. The most innocent and the most impressionable persons in society, those that are responsible for the future of mankind and for yours and mine's, for our legacy. These are our children. What we put them through in COVID was bad enough. Putting masks on these kids, separating them, telling them that their friends could get them sick, which, has been an issue in school for a long time. We always like to say the kids got us all sick because of all the germs these kids are passing around at school. All these kids are bringing this home to us to get us sick. And in reality, I don't believe that at all. I do not believe that. I think you create an environment within your system which dictates whether or not your body needs to detoxify and show you the symptoms of eliminating pathogens and toxins from your own environment, from your body. We're blaming the kids for things that weren't necessarily their fault. And they are building their immune systems with all this exposure to their friends and to the playgrounds and to the germs and to the things that we as parents or as an adult try to shelter them from almost insultingly. They are building immune systems. These creatures are resilient, just like us. They will make it. If they get sick at school, they're eliminating something and building their immune system to the point where they will be able to eliminate it easier and maybe bypass the entire need for the symptoms next time around. I 100% believe that grandma was right. God made dirt and dirt don't hurt. Expose your kids to these things. Let them play. Let them get into the germs. Let them build strong, resilient defenses. Now, let's talk about the transgender ideology that is absolutely corrupting our schools. And it's reared its head. And the only reason we are aware of it now is because of how much it's affected the kids in the first place. And let's be honest, kids are impressionable, and in a distressed child who is being given absolute sick, pollutant information may view some of these disturbing trends and some of this that has been shoved on them as a way to alleviate their distress. And that's exactly what it is. Look, Alex Jones, 10 years ago, said something about the atrazine that they were putting in the water, that this atrazine during experiments turned the frogs gay. And everybody thought this man was a maniac and he was crazy, which I do. I believe he's a maniac and he is a little crazy. Controlled opposition, in my opinion. But he's put information out there which isn't disputable anymore. And it doesn't take a conspiracy theorist to understand that we have toxins in our water, we have toxins in our food, we have absolute poisons that we need to avoid at all costs. And some of these are, in my opinion, intentionally aimed at us to weaken us, to make us more compliant and make us easier to manipulate. And of course, when you're talking about a manipulated society, the child and the children are the most malleable. They're the most easily influenced. And if we allow these sick individuals who have zero regard for the real outcomes, the wellness of the child, we're allowing these people into these institutions, and they're at war with our kids. They are at war with our kids. Let's talk about transgender for a second in itself. The transgender suicide rate is 32 to 50%. This is not indicative of a healthy community. Can we start there? Because if we start there, we can at least start to rationalize whether or not these people should be put in charge of our children. We should not let people with that high of a suicide rate be in charge of our children. Would you let depressed sociopaths, known depressed sociopaths, take care of your kids all day? Would you take them to daycare and allow somebody who has already admitted that they have something going on in their psychology that would render them far more susceptible to suicide or to murder? Because that's what we're doing. And the people that don't have a problem with this or do not see the problem with this are part of the problem. Absolutely, positively, you are part of the problem. If you think it's okay for impressionable youth to be led by individuals that are absolutely sick and more susceptible to all of the worst predicaments that life has to offer, then you are part of the problem. In San Francisco, 50% of trans attempt suicide before their 20th birthday, irrespective of whether they have disclosed their status to their friends and associates or whether they've concealed it. Whether they've gone through reassignment surgeries or whether they have abstained. And that's another whole conversation. I'm not even going to go into the hormones, the hormone blockers, or the surgeries, because I think that's absolutely abuse if we're talking about a kid. And I don't think we should have entertained it or entertained these people who would allow it or encourage it in the first place. This is absolutely mind-numbingly, it's insane. It's insane. You wouldn't let your kid get a tattoo at 6 years old. Why on earth would you let them reassign their sex? This is aimed at man and woman. This is aimed at creation. There are definitive differences between man and woman, and we complement each other and we support each other. And this has been throughout world history, throughout the history of man, has been, absolutely no way you can actually think about this. And a family unit is part of this. It's responsible for everything positive. And if you believe in evolution, all of the evolution, and if you believe in adaptation, that's one thing that we have not needed to adapt. It works. A man and a woman have children. They have a supporting unit, a family unit. This is destructive to the family. This is destructive to men and women because it refuses to be realistic about our differences and that we are two separate things. You cannot just cross over because you feel like it from one day to the next. I have in my build from birth the testosterone, the drive, the athletic ability, which I'm sorry, ladies, that want equality or preach this equality thing. You are not equal. You are not equal. In jiu-jitsu, we see it all the time. It's absolutely, in my mind, okay for men and women to train together. However, it's not okay for me to do to a woman what I can do to other men. Regardless of size differences, regardless of age differences, I train differently with women than I would with men. across the board. Now, there are some people that take advantage of situations in human nature. They are weak people who have something to gain by bending the rules or taking advantage of others. This is always going to be the case. However, we're different. And if you are not cognizant of that, there's something wrong with your thinking. There's something wrong with your thought process. If you, as a woman, think you're equal to a man in all aspects of life, and you are challenging men as if you are a man, you are sick in your head. You are asking for a situation and for consequences for actions that you're not ready for. I'm sorry, this is not up for debate. It is not up for debate that we are not equal in all aspects of life, in all aspects of our physiology. It's just not possible. Women, this whole feminism thing, fought for equality in so many different regards. And in many, I agree, we should be, as individuals and humans, treated equally in a lot of ways, but not expected to be equal in the ways that is just not possible. It does not make sense. It's not rational. Put a woman on a football field in the NFL and watch how long she lasts. She will be destroyed, decimated, injured instantly, almost. It's not up for debate. War zones. We allowed women into military, and there was heavy consequences for it, both in training, friendly fire, friendly abuses, and there's absolutely consequences in your psychology for going through the same things. And some psychologies are not fit for it. And just because one woman can step up to demands that other women can't does not mean that we should expect them all to. Now, back to the kids, because these are vulnerable and impressionable humans that are different from each other when they are male and female. We cannot reassign them their sex and expect them to be healthy individuals. This is absolute trash. This is awful. This is abuse. This comes from a sick and twisted ideology and from hate. If you do not believe it is from hate, well, you're not rationally processing this. 56% of transgenders discontinue their education by primary or secondary school. They opt for sex trade and for begging. This is not indicative of a healthy community. 26% have severe depression. 54% are alcoholics. 41.8% of non-binary youth have attempted suicide before they're 20 years old. This is not indicative of a healthy community. This is just one step along the pathway to much, much worse places. These are victims. These are impressionable, distressed kids, which are mostly victimized by a predatory adult. And why? Why would these predators be doing this to the children? Why would they be coming after your children? Gays do not have kids of their own. They have no choice but to come after other children, especially when their end game is pedophilia. Let's just put the cards out there. That's exactly what it is. Because if they can confuse your kids and sexualize your kids, sooner or later, they will be able to rape and molest and sexualize your kids themselves. And they will try and justify this in the public eye as well. It is the next step. Trans ideology is aimed to destroy creation, but it's also aimed to victimize the innocent. They will say that children's sexuality is just part of nature and that they should be able to consent. That's coming next. If you don't realize that consent and children's consent is coming next, then, well, open your eyes. Open your eyes. How do we stop this? And how do we end this? First and foremost, we need to be made aware that these people have infiltrated our institutions, such as public school. And parents need to be vocal. Parents need to be involved. They need to know what's going on in those classrooms. And we need to nip this in the bud. No pride flags in the school. I'm sorry. No gender dysphoric teachers. I'm sorry. That is not their place. If you're willing to turn your kids over to a gender dysphoric teacher and allow them to educate your children, then maybe they should have private schools for that. That's exactly what they told religious parents 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Put your kids in private school if you want them to learn about God or about any theology, any Christian or Catholicism or any other religion. If you want that for your kids, put them in private school. That's exactly what the argument was. But now here we have their religion in the public school themselves. They took out your religion so that they could replace it with their own. This is Satanism. This is a godless ideology for most of these people. And when they commit to atheism, they don't realize, some of them, a lot do, they don't realize that that is their God. That it's not that they don't believe in a God, it's that they have their own image of God in a godless society. They worship themselves, which means that they can do anything and everything they want and that there are no boundaries. Absolutely mind-boggling how people can defend this on the internet or anywhere else for that matter. And some of you making these statements on the internet about seeing no problem with trans ideology or gay pride flags and all this other nonsense in the schools, well, you are definitely part of the problem. And I'm here to make you aware of that. There are more people that agree with this getting tossed out of the indoctrination centers forever than on the other side. And being vocal about your thoughts on this subject is free speech. However, all speech carries consequences, as we are made so aware by people that get canceled for spitting facts, for saying things that are just honest and truthful. Well, if you're defending this ideology and you're defending predators, you should be held responsible. The public should be able to hold you accountable for your words. These anonymous accounts on social media that are defending this, I actually don't believe in anonymous accounts. I believe they should be held accountable for their words. And yes, free speech is free speech. I, across the board, am a proponent of free speech. But I'm also a proponent of non-anonymous speech. So if you have some heinous things to say and your beliefs are absolutely brutal, comparatively speaking to what has been deemed sane throughout history, well, you should have your image, have everything that you are out there front and center. Don't share these wicked, disgusting thoughts of yours from an anonymous account in the darkness. Everything done in the dark should be brought to the light. You should be held accountable for your own actions and for your own words and for your beliefs. And if these are the things that you believe, come on out front and center and defend them in the public square. That's how we end this. We hold people accountable for who they are, what they say, what they're doing. This, what's the word for it? Like telephone tough guy thing, this internet tough people who will say anything on social media accounts, but guaranteed if they were confronted by those that they're saying some of these things to, they would quiver. They would shut it the heck up right then. They would not follow through with these same things in person. One of the major flaws with the social media and this fake environment people are participating in every day, it's not always somebody putting a filter on their photos so that they look like somebody else. It's people that are filtering their lives out in public, but then are letting these evil and dark thoughts and these just disgusting, derogatory things to come out of their mouth on the internet. Enough's enough. We need to end this now. If you are a parent, have a responsibility to voice loudly your opposition to this ideology in our school. It is sick. We cannot allow the sickest in society to A, dictate the terms for the healthy, or B, manipulate and propagandize and educate our children. This needs to end. What are your thoughts on it? I want to know what you think we should do about this communistic, this despicable ideology that they're trying to corrupt our children with. I want to know your thoughts. Let me know. Give me feedback. Put it out there on your social media. Share your ideas of how we stop this now, because we have no choice. We have to. Mankind depends on us stopping this now, especially here, because this is the place where we at least can vocalize our opposition to these things. Let's do it now. Let's nip it in the bud. Let's be done with it. This is Josh Button Podcast. Listen, if you're on YouTube, please like and subscribe. If you're on Spotify, hit that bell. Follow me. That way you get updates when I'm dropping a new podcast. The next podcast, I'm pretty sure I'm going to go into a subject that has fascinated me for a long time. Water. What do we really know about it? It's one of the most studied subjects ever, and perhaps still one of the least understood. Of course, what do we understand about anything? Anyways, this is the Josh Button Podcast. It's been real. I'm sorry if you're offended, but I don't care. This one is not up for debate. We have to end this now. I will see you all soon. Talk to you soon. Peace out.